Hello and welcome to 1874. It's time for a match preview show as Aston Villa travel to St Mary's to take on Southampton on Saturday, 3 o'clock kickoff. I was so close to saying the Dell there. I've gone back to the 1990s, Dave, and it is so close to saying the wrong thing there. This show, very excitedly, has a new sponsor. Dave's excited about this. I'm excited as well. So thank you to Match Bingo, who've decided, someone's decided to ring me just as I'm doing a podcast, which isn't very helpful at all. So we'll cancel that call. So yes, thank you to our new sponsors, Match Bingo. I'll be flashing the QR code up at various points during the show if you wish to get involved. And also you can see at the bottom of the screen, you can download the app by heading to 1874.io/Match Bingo. So everyone is waiting with bated breath to find out what Match Bingo is. They've paid out over £200,000 to players so far, and you can get a card for your team, which obviously I've done for Aston Villa ahead of the game against Southampton. And if you buy 4 bingo cards, you'll get a bingo card for free. So I've bought 2 cards ahead of this. So let me show you what I've done. The prize pot for Southampton Villa is £250, Dave. And Dave, we were talking about bingo before we came on, and you assured me that in bingo you got to get a line. It's all about getting a line, isn't it?
I believe so. Yeah, every Christmas there's a bit of bingo, so that's my knowledge of bingo.
So if we just look at my first card here, so these are the scenarios that I've been given, and obviously if these things happen in a game, they'll get ticked off. If I get a line, I win £250. I think would be how it would work. I believe that's how bingo works. So if you look at my top line, the whistle means a free kick taken. So you'd imagine that's going to happen in the game. Second across, throw in taken. Third across, any goal awarded during the second, the 12th, the 22nd, the 32nd, the 42nd. So if it's the something second minute, that gets ticked off. First substitution made, so a substitution in the game, you'd imagine that's highly likely to happen as well. And then fifth across, direct woodwork hit, no goal. So basically, there's just various scenarios on this card. You get a line, you win, which will be very nice to win £250. I'm imagining, Dave. I know I'm getting married very soon, and every penny counts. So if I can win £250 tomorrow off just watching Villa play and looking at my bingo card, I don't really have to do anything else, do I? He's going to tick it all off for me. So if you're interested in getting involved in Match Bingo, our new match preview sponsor, I'm going to flash a QR code up there right now. Be careful not to flash up Greg Evans' book. We've already given him enough business. There's the Match Bingo QR code. So if you want to get involved, get your mobile phone now, point it at the screen, and you'll be able to get involved in Match Bingo. And if you're listening via audio, then obviously go to 1874.io/Match Bingo and you'll be able to get involved as well. So then, Dave, enough about sponsors. Let's talk about this game. Quite simply, for Villa, must win. There are no excuses to go into Southampton in the current state and not winning. Villa are obviously one of the best teams in the Premier League. Southampton, hopeless, pitiful, any kind of word you want to use for them this season. You could tick that off. But as a Villa fan, you'd always feel a little bit wary, don't you? You do kind of feel like it's a banana skin. They're now confirmed relegated. You know, they've got nothing to lose. Could it be a weight off their shoulders, as Jolly and Lescott would say? Let's hope not.
And the manager's gone as well.
Yeah, that's quite big news, isn't it? Yeah.
So they have got an interim in charge for the game. Look, yeah, I mean, there is no excuse really for not going to Southampton and win. They have been terrible. I think it's actually difficult from my point of view anyway, since the game in midweek, to kind of focus on this game. I'm still thinking really about what happened on Wednesday night, and I'm also thinking about the next leg. So if it's hard for people like me and you to think about this game, then I suspect it might be difficult for the players as well. So I think it's up to those players that are going to get selected for this game at Southampton to be fully focused. And, you know, I think if the attitude is right, Villa should go and win this game. So it's about getting the attitude right from the first whistle.
Do you think there'll be a high volume of changes? Do you look at this as being one where Unai Emery will rotate? Obviously, we've got players that feel like they never get rotated. I think Conser was one of those until last week. Obviously, he got left out against Nottingham Forest last weekend, came on in the second half. Do you think maybe, with Tuesday in mind and having just played Wednesday in what was a ridiculous football match, playing against one of the best teams I've ever seen, do you think that maybe this is one Tielemans doesn't play. Maybe it's one Rodgers doesn't start and Emery uses them from the bench, maybe gives them 20, 30 minutes and gets something into them before Tuesday, because those two in particular, they've just not been rested at any point in the season, really.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, if they do play and if they do start the game, I think they might well come off the bench. But if they start the game,
yeah, 100% come off the bench. Emery's shown that previously in the Conference League that he still likes to kind of get minutes into people, doesn't he?
I mean, you've just got to, if Rodgers and Tielemans start, I mean, I've just got to applaud them, really. It's not just the physical fatigue from that game in midweek, but it's the mental fatigue as well, the concentration that the players had to put in midweek from minute 1 to minute 93, 94. And I know Villa conceded a late goal in that game, but I would be amazed if both of them start this game. They'll come out of the game in midweek shattered physically and mentally. So I would be surprised if both of them start the game. But as you say, I would expect one or both to play a part from the bench in this game just to keep them ticking over because there won't be much training time between games. So essentially the second half might prove to be a good time to just get minutes in legs just to keep them ticking over physically.
Yeah, Unai Emery's provided us with some team news before we've come on and done this show, Dave. So basically, everyone fit Barley on Bailey, who's got a late fitness test, so may be involved. So Daniel Marlon and Garcia come back into the squad. So there's a case for both of them to play. In particular, Marlon. People will think I'm obsessed with Marlon, and to be honest, I've been really impressed with him. So far, I've really liked everything that I've seen from him. I think he's been unfortunate, but he's grasped the opportunities he has had really, really well. You'd think he'll probably come in down that right hand side for this one and give a bit of width. And actually, we could have done with having him in the second half against PSG for that width. Even Bailey, I suppose, we could have done with in that second half.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah. I think Marlon will come in and play. I think he did really well against Nottingham Forest, and I think he will come in and start. I think it's a toss-up really between Garcia and Matty Cash. I think it was more a kind of tactical switch at half-time, really. The fact that he got booked against Paris Saint-Germain, that he was taken off at half-time. So I think it's a bit of a pick-em between Garcia and Cash, whether one starts, one comes on. So I would expect both Garcia and Marlon to play a part. Definitely, it's hard to pick the team, to be honest. I know we've kind of had a shocker. I mean, we got it bob on for the game in midweek, I have to say, but it's for these games, it's difficult to pick a team.
In the chat saying start the same team as Forest, there's probably a chance of that happening. I would say maybe with the exception of Tielemans. I don't know whether McGinn perhaps will start centrally, or maybe Barkley can get some minutes under his belt and start a game. Or no, I suppose it could be Onana, couldn't it? Onana and Kamara maybe, but I wouldn't want to risk anything happening to Kamara ahead of this one. Maybe it is a case of Tielemans does start again because he has been he did get taken off in midweek, which doesn't happen often.
No, it doesn't happen often from memory anyway. So yeah, it could well be Onana and Tielemans in there.
Onana's a lock, I think.
Yeah, I think so. The only issue you've got is Barkley going to be ready and be fully ready to go from the start against Southampton? I mean, you could look at it and say, well, it's not exactly a massive test against Southampton, but given the importance of the result, Villa need to be ready to go from the start, and the fact he hasn't played any football, maybe it could be one where Barkley comes on in the second half. So I would expect Onana to start, and then it's kind of who you decide to pick alongside him. Could be Tielemans, could be Kamara. He might decide to push McGinn back there. There's lots of options, really.
Yeah. Obviously, we're doing this show now, and I can see people talking in the chat. Barely anyone is talking about the Southampton game, Dave. Everyone is talking about
it doesn't surprise
Wednesday and Tuesday to come, aren't they? So it feels like all Villa fans' focus is on the Champions League, obviously, but it's that kind of thing that I think, the players, they've got to focus on the weekend, because it would be criminal to drop points in this game when, we need to push towards top 5 to make sure we have Champions League nights next season. You can't afford to take this lightly. I know they've been absolute rubbish all season, but if you, even at at this level, if you take your eye off the ball, even a team like Southampton, they will beat you in the Premier League if you're not fully at it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think That's almost the perfect message that Unai Emery can give the players following the game against PSG. If you want nights like this again, we have to go and beat Southampton. There's no bigger motivation than getting Champions League football next season, coming off that game against Paris Saint-Germain, for Unai Emery to say, look, if you want that again, you've got to go out and beat Southampton, and there's no excuses here. So I think Villa have won 2 out of 9, I think, following midweek Champions League games. So the record hasn't been outstanding. So I think it's a real opportunity here for Villa to go out and put a marker down. I think there will be rotation, absolutely. Possibly the same team that started against Forest starts this game. And then it's just a toss-up whether Rodgers and Tielemans start the game or not. So there is motivation in this game, no doubt.
It's another big week, isn't it? Because obviously we've got the PSG game, but you could argue the Newcastle game next Saturday is just as big, really. That's a huge game. If you look at the fixtures that are actually left in the Premier League and what there is left to play for, I'm not talking across the whole 20 teams here. Villa v Newcastle next weekend is probably as big as it gets in terms of the fixtures left across the whole league.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. It's 2 very different fixtures, isn't it? Southampton with absolutely nothing to play for. I would expect Villa to go there and get a win, and you would expect it to be fairly comfortable. But the game next week is an absolutely massive game, and another one that, following a taxing midweek on Tuesday, the players have got to get over that physically and mentally by the time they get to next weekend. It's such a massive game, both sides with so much still to play for.
Yeah, I mean, I've still got some optimism ahead of Tuesday night. Sam Ingram here saying finishing top 5 is more important than the Champions League semi-final, and is also, now sad as it is to admit, far more likely. It's probably a fair reflection, but I do, like I said, I do carry some hope. Early goal at Villa Park, go ahead. Obviously, if we concede first, the tie is pretty much over at that point, but I do believe we can go ahead against PSG again at Villa Park. Just want to talk to you about Ollie Watkins, Dave. Off form, off colour at the moment, obviously carrying a little injury as well. I would expect him to start tomorrow. Is this the game where we use it to get Ollie back to form? Maybe he scores one or 2 goals, gets himself back on the score sheet, gets some confidence injected back into him. And if he does that, we know how that he can be a streaky player. If he can do something against Southampton on Saturday, actually a big chance for him to stake a claim to start on Tuesday. I think, we're talking about rotation and playing a certain side and then playing a certain side on Tuesday as well. But I actually think for some players, if they do well on Saturday, there's a chance that you then start against PSG. I genuinely believe that for someone like Ollie Watkins.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you that he will start against Southampton. I actually think, and when I was watching the game in midweek, I actually think Watkins possibly should have come on a little bit earlier than he did.
Well, we waited about 10 minutes for him to come on the sideline, didn't we? We waited for ages and age to bring them subs on.
I just thought Rashford had a good first half against PSG, and then in the second half, I was just getting the feeling that maybe he was trying to do a little bit too much in terms of trying to take the pressure off and run the channels and keep hold of the ball. Maybe he could have released it a couple of times slightly earlier than he tried to, and decision-making was slightly off second half. And actually, I thought Watkins could have come on and made an impact a little bit earlier. But yeah, I agree that if Ollie Watkins gets 1 or 2 goals at the weekend, and I know I'm kind of jumping ahead and you don't want to disrespect the team that Villa are playing against, but if Ollie Watkins does manage to get 1 or 2, that does put him in the frame for midweek. And then it just depends how Unai Emery wants to set up. Does he want to go full attack from the start? Does he want to keep things tight in midweek and have something to bring on off the bench, which is another possibility? But even if he starts and manages to get a couple, it can only be a good thing for him because he does need it.
Yeah. Let's talk about the opposition then, Dave. Is there any player that concerns you? Is there anything you're particularly wary of for Southampton? I do feel like quite a lot of the times I have watched them, and this was probably mainly under Russell Martin, actually, they were at times not too far away. They're not like Leicester, who are completely toothless. I do feel of scoring a goal. I definitely feel that they've got that in them. Whereas if we were to be playing Leicester this weekend, that they are toothless, as I say. But I do think Southampton got a little bit more about them, which sounds stupid to say with their points tally. But I do just think they carry more of a threat and are better attacking players? Or am I being stupid?
I wouldn't want to call you stupid, but
I'm thinking of Dibbling.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Oh, no
I'm
doubt.
thinking of Onuachu feels like the kind of donkey striker that could cause us problems and has done in the past. You know what? Know what I'm saying.
You've absolutely killed him. You've
Well,
killed him.
true. It's true, isn't it?
He's got some good touches on him. Actually, I'm sure I saw him do a
great touch for a big lad.
Back. I saw him turn someone inside out. I can't remember.
I saw Southampton the other week. I can't remember who it was against. They brought him on. They went long. He's bearing in mind he's about 6'7", 6'8", isn't he? They went long to him from a goal kick. He lost the header, and then the other team ran through and scored. So I was like, that could only happen to Southampton, that they bring on a 6'8" striker, pump it long to him, and they end up conceding off that. Yeah, that's the kind of thing I'm getting at.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Look. Yeah. I like, obviously Tyler Diblin is the standout. He is going to go on to bigger and better things, unless he decides to stick with Southampton in the Championship. Obviously, Southampton are going to want a monster offer for him. Maybe a little bit like the Jack Grealish situation when Villa went down and he was able to stay around and really get used to playing football every single week. The robustness that you need in the Championship to be playing midweek and then the weekend, just for him to have a full season in the team. And look, he's going to make and he's going to do good numbers in the Championship in terms of goal involvement. So for him, that might be a better thing for his career than maybe going to a Tottenham or a Brighton or someone like that, where, you know, is he going to be rotated every week? But he is a massive talent. I like Ugochukwu in midfield as well. I think
Chelsea
he's got
boy.
something. Whether he is someone who's going to make it at the very top, I think he's on loan from Chelsea, isn't he? From memory.
Yeah, he is.
Whether he's someone who's actually going to be a Champions League level player, don't know yet. But from the bits I've seen of him, he looks like a technically good player for Southampton. But I think what they were trying to do under Russell Martin earlier in the season, I just don't think they had the player quality to carry out. I like the ideas. I actually kind of thought the opposite, really, that there seemed all right passing it around in midfield and at the back, a bit of circulation. But as soon as it kind of went forward and went vertical, they struggled a little bit to convert those chances. And then they obviously, the number of times that they were trying to play out earlier in the season, they were going to be giving away goals, because the level of the quality of players that they're up against is much higher in the Premier League than it is in the Championship. So they were going to get caught out given the quality of the players that they have got. I must admit myself, I haven't watched them a whole lot under Juric, but it didn't seem like
anymore, because Sky have cottoned on and TNT that probably not worth putting these guys on the telly anymore.
It certainly didn't seem like there was a whole lot of improvement under Juric. So these players now, it's up to them to play for their futures, really, if they want to stay at Southampton and make a go of it in the Championship.
Yeah, Chris Swan says here, Onuachu brace incoming. Get that on your match bingo card. I mean, you can't choose it yourself, but yeah, that was on the match bingo card. He's going to score now. I've done that, isn't he? I actually don't fancy us to keep a clean sheet against Southampton for some reason. I don't know. I know we've been really good at keeping clean sheets recently. I just don't fancy it at all. I suppose we touch on Cameron Archer. Dave, a little lesson for Villa, I guess, that last season we could have gone top at Christmas at Villa Park and taken on a team who was struggling at the bottom and was pretty pitiful, and obviously went 1-0 down to our former player Cameron Archer scoring against us. Hasn't had a great time again at Southampton. That's probably 2 bad moves for him in a row now. Probably feels like, you know, actually a year in the Championship with Southampton next season might do him good. He's lurking around, not starting too many games, but be a little bit wary of that. Yeah,
100%. We know how good a finisher he is, Cameron Archer. As soon as he gets in the box, he comes alive and he's able to put away chances. So, and I think you make a good point there, actually, looking back at the home game against Southampton, where the incentive was there for Villa to be top at Christmas. And it seemed like the whole kind of Premier League was watching that game just to see how Villa got on in it and whether they were able to convert under the scrutiny, under the pressure of everybody watching that game, and seeing if they would go top at that point in the season. And then obviously got hit with a bit of a sucker punch and managed to come away with the point in the end. So I think that's another good example actually for Unai Emery to use. You know, if you're not at it, if you're not on it, if you're not able to be clinical, and he always talks about taking your chances, being clinical, being cold in the box, then there's every chance that Southampton are able to go at the other end and get a goal. So I think there'll be a full amount of concentration on this game, certainly from the coaching staff, and it's about them choosing the right team and making sure the attitude is right and getting the setup right. And if Villa play to their capacity, there's no doubt they win this game.
Yeah, Nuno Emery's got a massive team of analysts who he would have had half working on PSG, whilst the other half work on Southampton at the weekend. So no stone will be unturned. So we don't need to worry about that. Let's finish with our hot or freezing cold take then, Dave. My hot take was bang on for Wednesday's game against PSG. I predicted Villa would go ahead in that game. Can't remember what your prediction was. It was
a lovely few minutes, wasn't it? Villa going ahead
what
in
a 4
game.
minutes. Yeah, absolutely sensational. What have you got for us today?
I'm going to go with Villa to keep a clean sheet and win. I know you don't fancy that sort.
I'm going to go against you then. My hot take is that Villa will win, but they'll concede.
Right. Okay.
That's my hot take. Even though we've been better at the back recently, that's and probably on Onuachu to score. Now I've said that he's a donker earlier on in the pod. Right then, let's go. Thank you very much, Dave Reed, Sky Sports News, for joining me today. A pleasure as always to talk to you. Thank you to everyone that's joined me live in the chat, joined us live in the chat. It's not all about you, Daniel. So thank you to those guys. Always enjoy hearing from you. If you are watching on YouTube and you've gone back and watched, then subscribe with your post notifications on. Leave a comment as well and give the video a like. And if you're listening via audio, whether that be Apple or Spotify, 5-star reviews, comments, and leave a lovely review on Apple Podcasts if you can. A nice written review. Let's test out your literary skills. Let's have some nice reviews. Thank you to our new sponsor, Match Bingo. Do go and check them out. It really, really helps the channel. And it's a chance to win some money. Quite a unique concept as well, combining bingo with sport. So they've got some good prizes on the go. So do go and check that out, and that will really help the channel. Be back potentially tomorrow. Actually, I might jump on and do a full-time show after the game, so do watch out for that. There may be a show straight after the game tomorrow, if not maybe Sunday, and then of course the usual podcast with Greg or Jacob on Monday as well. Someone's just scanned the QR code. Love to see it. Excellent work. So lovely. Get yourself outside, stop watching podcasts, don't watch any more Villa content today from any other channel. You don't need to. Get yourself outside. It's lovely weather. Thanks to Dave again, and as always, up the Villa.